Before we get on to our next schedule conversation, I just wanted to take note that we have one question pending from the last panel from Ernest Owens, Philadelphia Magazine. And Ernest, we will try to get to that question, I think, with some of the other folks in the panel following this one. And if we don't get to it, then we'll certainly pose it to some of our panelists who were on earlier. So we'll get an answer and distribute it to everybody present. So our next on the schedule is a conversation between Katti and Charles Brown and Diane Sears, and I'm going to hand the gavel over to Katti and let her start off. Katti?
Hi, Ms. Sears and Mr. Brown. Thank you again. I'm glad that y'all are here. We'll do ladies first. Diane?
Well,
yes. Same.
Good afternoon. I want to thank you and all of your colleagues for the great work that you do for criminal justice reform. And I want to thank you for inviting me. And I'm very honored to be here with you and my distinguished co-panelist, Mr. Charles Brown.
Good afternoon, Katti and everyone else on the Zoom conference. I appreciate this invitation, and I look forward to sharing my experience and things that are troubling me concerning reentry and other things.
All right, Ms. Sears, you want to jump in?
Okay, I'm going to jump in. I want to cover criminal justice reform and reentry. Fasten your seatbelts because what I have to say might be a little unsettling. Criminal justice reform has focused on righting the wrongs of our legal system, and that's fine. But it can also resolve public safety issues like gun violence. How? Move commutation into the criminal justice reform dialogue. We have model prisoners who are inside-out criminal justice reform, reentry, and social justice thought leaders. They're sitting in prison. They've served maybe from 25 to 30 years of a life without parole sentence. They've used that time to research and design initiatives that prevent and reduce gun violence, like the out-of-control gun violence that we have here in Philadelphia and other cities across the nation. Their initiatives include creating a gun violence-free and crime-free zone. Right now, they're looking at 2 sections of West Philadelphia to implement those zones. These souls stand ready to return to the community to implement initiatives that they've designed that'll save lives. How can we make this happen? Commutation of their life without parole sentences. More support needs to be given for legislation that will create parole eligibility for qualified incarcerated souls. This, too, needs to be moved into the criminal justice reform dialogue. In Pennsylvania, there are over 10,000 aging and elderly incarcerated souls who are at great risk of contracting and dying from COVID-19. The structural environment of prisons are not conducive to complying with the mandated CDC protocol for dealing with COVID-19. Recidivism rates for aging and elderly incarcerated souls is extremely low. They're not going to be a threat to public safety. Let's move them into the early prison release programs as fast as we can. Now, let's talk about reentry. Effective reentry initiatives can be found in prison, and they are designed and implemented by incarcerated souls. One of the most effective reentry initiatives, People Advancing Reintegration, was created 30 years ago by an incarcerated soul serving a life without parole sentence. This initiative was created at SCI Graterford, which is now SCI Phoenix. And that was 30 years ago. Today, it is a nonprofit organization that employs close to 60 returning citizens, and it has an estimated annual revenue of $1 million. Earlier today, Attorney General Joshua Shapiro mentioned that Pennsylvania has a 66% recidivism rate. One inside-out criminal justice reform, reentry, and social justice thought leader who's serving a life without parole sentence has created a solution. It is a business-driven, violence-free, and crime-free reentry zone that will provide returning citizens with everything that they need so they won't recidivate. Jobs, vocational and entrepreneurial skills training, clothing, food, transportation, and housing, and a violence-free zone and a crime-free zone. And plans are underway to get this up and running in West Philadelphia. To prevent and reduce gun violence under the reentry zone, a mentoring initiative is planned that will operate out of that reentry zone that will provide at-risk youth and young adults with vocational and entrepreneurial skills. I would like to see, on the reentry side of the equation, a mandatory one-year minimum intensive two-tier psychological debriefing program that helps heal the emotional, psychological, and spiritual wounds of returning citizens, which they have as a result of years and decades of incarceration. And lastly, returning citizens must have a seat at the local, state, and national reentry public policy decision-making table.
Thank you, Ms. Sears. Mr. Brown? Did we lose him? Charles? Chris?
Yeah, I think we lost him, Katie. I think he has a bad connection.
He'll need to call in, yes?
Yeah, he can call in, or he can try again. I mean, it looked like it was working.
Okay, I'm gonna call him right now, actually.
Oh, there he is.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Brown? Charles Brown, can you hear me? You're muted. He may have a bad connection.
Yes.
Yes.
What's the number? What's the number, Chris? To dial in? Chris? Chris, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just getting the number for you.
Oh, okay. I'll text him the dial-in number.
He's back.
Is he back?
Go.
All right.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me? You can hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yes. Because it kept showing it was unmuted. Sorry about
No worries. We're ready
that.
for
I'm in the car at work, but
okay, we're ready for
yes. Thank you.
I think
Yes. First of all, I just concur with a lot of what Ms. Sears has spoke about. You know, it's a need for everything that she had addressed. I am a former juvenile lifer with 36 plus years of incarceration. I've been out since May 1st of 2017. Reentry is a difficult thing for so many people because after decades and decades of incarceration, so many people have lost their support system. And I was fortunate to still have a nice support base. And then there's such organizations as YSRP and a lot of others like FAM that I got involved with, and ICANN, who have helped me along this journey, you know. But there's other organizations out here that, especially speaking about Philadelphia, that
Chris,
talk about helping people return citizens, but yet you get
this connection is pretty bad.
excuse
Okay. Chris,
me,
I'm gonna need to call in.
but yet you need men and women right now are coming home, and their main issue is that they don't have. Can you hear me?
We're having some difficulty. We may want you to call in.
What's the number?
Chris is gonna get it for you.
Katti, I just texted it to you.
Okay, and I'm texting it. I'll text
All
it to you, Charles.
Okay, I'm waiting.
Yes. Chris, I don't have it yet.
It's chat. I sent it through the chat.
Chat, I'm sorry.
That's the 646.
Yes.
What was it? It disappeared.
Okay, I'll read it to you. It's 646.
Hold it. Let me get that.
646 558 8656.
ID followed by pound.
896 5472 2888.
Two 888.
You
Pound.
entered 98654722888. This meeting ID does not exist. Please
Let's do it again. 896.
You entered 8. This meeting ID does not exist. Please re-enter your meeting ID
Oh my
followed by
goodness.
pound.
It's all right. We'll get it. 896 5472.
There we go. 896
5
5472
2888.
5472.
I'm going to text.
88. Oh, that keep
It's going to work out.
898
I'm texting it. It's 896.
89.
Okay, I'm going to start over. 896
Yes.
5472 2888.
Eight nine six 547 2888. Yes.
Yes, I think that.
896 5472 2888.
Yes.
Yeah.
It keeps saying it can't be dialed.
You might want to start the whole dial over again.
896.
Okay, so let's go back to the 646. Let's hang that up and let's start all over.
All right. I'm there.
Okay, it is 646 558
Okay.
8656.
Zoom. Followed by pound.
Now they want the meeting ID.
896
Any number. Please re-enter your meeting
What is it?
ID followed by pound.
896-5472.
2888.
Yeah. I don't think you're in, Charles.
Participant ID.
And now you need the are you in? I think he's in, right? No. Charles?
Yes. Yes.
Yay, we're in.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No worries.
Yes. Yes. So let me just get back into it. For so many people, especially speaking about juvenile lifers who have returned within the last several years, we are out here doing amazing things, and it was a struggle for many, but the resilience inside of them just kept pushing because so many doors have been closed, and it's not enough help on the reentry side. And that reverb.
Turn off your computer.
Yeah.
Charles,
Yes.
turn off your computer.
Yes, I did.
All right.
Yes, and it's like, so many guys and women have come home, and we were serving life without possibility of parole and have done decades behind bars. And like I say, the help is not there for so many. People are managing to get by, but there's so many of the men and women out here are really struggling. I think that more resources should be, made available to them, not just to talk or just attending these meetings, not this meeting, but coming to this office and doing a lot of paperwork and not enough is help happening, because there's so many people who barely have apartments, and that's the key things to reentry to me is, getting a stable employment, then being able to have some kind of housing, because like after that, I think everything else will fall in place. Some people don't even have clothes, a change of clothes on a daily basis, and so, it's like people like YSRP, they were having where you can go down there and get clothing and stuff like that to help you out, to give you a starter kit. But we need more people to step up, more organizations. We have Band the Box in Pennsylvania in certain parts, in Philadelphia, for instance. But now when you apply for the job, you aren't asked initially about your background, but after the second interview, it's fair game. I made it through one at Whole Foods, and I think I knocked it out the park. I mean, I was honest up front, even without any action of about my background. I made it on the table because I didn't want to get hired just to have it snatched away from me. And they agreed. They was like, okay, but as soon as your background check come, you'll get employment. But the background check come, and they closed the door on me. We sent it on the employment opportunity and everything. But thankfully, I found employment at J Yoga Industries, and I'm doing wonderful. But I just think about the men and women out here who are still trying to find their way, and we need to do something to help them before they lose hope out here. We already have enough people out here committing crimes and things of that nature, like Diane spoke about. There's great men and women inside there who have done decades and would be assets out here if given the opportunity. So, I think they are ready for the reentry.
Mr. Brown, can I go back so that I want to give the journalist here as clear as possible understanding of the reentry process. So would you tell me when you left prison 3 years ago, what did you have in the way of a medical discharge plan if you had, any medical issues, and just your whole reentry plan? What is that process? What was it for you, and in your advocacy for other people in reentry, what is it 3 years since?
Well, when I was about to be released, the reentry process from inside started. Well, I didn't have real health issues, so that wasn't much of a problem. But they did allow me to set up where, so when I came home, I was able to get public assistance, a little medical insurance, and that helped a lot. But as soon as I started to get some kind of employment, like even I was receiving access, which is the food stamp thing, and that was like $192 a month. It helped out a lot, but I had to really rely on my family support to really, allow me to get over the hump, so to speak. But as soon as I started making a little bit of income, it started dwindling down. But like the medical did help me a lot, being on the assistance medical until I was able to get work insurance. I just think that the psychological things that Ms. Sears spoke about, like we were damaged, but some people more than others. And I think that a lot of that should be open to people who know that they have a problem and are struggling and need to really talk to people. But I'm thankful for like the organization that I'm involved with. We have self-care groups. We have, meetings, Zoom meetings where we talk about those things and allow each other to express things that was really, really bothering us and become barriers for us, so that we don't, lose hope and give up. And I just think that, for it's a beautiful thing that they allowed, juvenile lifers to come home. But one time we were in there during year after year where things wasn't given to us, no opportunity was really given to us. And then when it was time for us to be released, that's when the reentry inside did started for us. A lot of programs was crammed down our throat to show that, well, they did their part. But for some, that wasn't enough. I was just fortunate that I was a seeker, and every opportunity that a class opened up, all the things they was already offering, I had done many years ago, and I became a facilitator, so I was teaching a lot of the programs such as citizenship, thinking for a change, as those things are a reentry type thing in itself to prepare you for situations out here, how to control your anger, and just deal with situations in a more appropriate manner than you used to.
Sure. I wanted to jump into some of the journalist questions. This one comes from Josh Vaughn of The Appeal. He asked, what are some of the main misconceptions or false narratives the general public has about people who have been convicted of murder or serious violence, and how do we combat those misconceptions?
Well, I think the misconception is that we were all monsters. We are, we're incorrigible. That we cannot change, and that beyond that is the fact that everyone convicted of murder weren't the actual person who took a person's life. They may have had some culpability, but they weren't the one who actually committed the murder. So, and that's many of the men who are serving, and men and women who are serving second-degree murder, such as what I was. So I just think that it should be pointed out that if it had not been for the jury that I had, if I had a different jury, I could have possibly been home sooner. There's people who actually committed murder, and may have received 10 to 20 and got out. But soon as a person who has the label as a lifer gets an opportunity for a new trial or anything like that, society is up in arms, like, oh, they ready to let a killer or murderer, like as if the person is a Hannibal Lecter. And it's not true. There are some beautiful men and women inside there, you know, who just are dying to have an opportunity to come out here and to try to, as the initiative program that Ms. Sears talked about, to curb this violence out here. Like, I know that myself and many others have spoken to many youth out here and have made a difference in their lives. Some we've seen and some we haven't seen. And I know that those men and women that still looking for opportunity in there, a lot of them had instilled stuff in me that helped me become the man that I am. You know, that I can look in the mirror and be proud of the person that I am, because I know that my past mistakes or bad decisions as a juvenile didn't define who I am today. And that's what's being the misconception, is that something that a person, no matter how egregious it may be, and I'm not minimizing, you know, any of that, but people do change. They are not the same as they were 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago. And I think that should be known.
Sure. Thank you for that, Mr. Brown. I actually want to bring Ms. Sears in here. I want you to talk about your work on the commutation support campaign committee for Mr. Muhammad. Tell me about that, how it works. This is sort of a natural segue from what I think Mr. Brown was talking about.
Okay. I have to give some background on that. For the past 2 decades, I have been publishing, among other things, the literary works of incarcerated men from Maine to Hawaii. And as a result of that, I've been collaborating for the last 6 years with the lifers, who were originally at Greaterford and now they're at SCI Phoenix. As a result of that collaboration,
how many lifers?
There are a lot at SCI Phoenix?
That you're collaborating with.
Okay, I'm collaborating with the organization SCI Phoenix Lifers, Inc., which is a 501c3. It was created in 1989 by incarcerated men who are serving life without parole sentences. There are hundreds of them at that institution, predominantly from Philadelphia. And as a result of my collaboration through publishing and supporting their work by connecting them with key stakeholders could advance their work, I started working with Mr. Taylor, Mr. James Muhammad Taylor. He has been serving a life without parole sentence. This is his 49th year. And last year, he asked me to assist him in commutation matters, and I chair his commutation support campaign. He is the incarcerated soul who created People Advancing Reintegration. He is the incarcerated soul who has designed a reentry zone, which is being established as we speak.
How will that work, that reentry zone?
Well, it works from the inside out. One of the initiatives, the mentoring initiative, was already working. The mentoring initiative is Project Prison to Pipeline Youth Reclaiming Their Lives as Men. That was up and running inside the prison prior to COVID-19. We were going to move that to the outside once we have all of our ducks in a row. We're looking for housing. We have identified where the reentry zone will be in West Philadelphia. We've also identified where 2 gun violence-free, crime-free zones will be established in West Philadelphia. One will go in Carroll Park, the other will go in Cobbs Creek, and Cobbs Creek will be the venue for the reentry zone. We are in the process of working with key community stakeholders. There's a lot of discussion going on the outside about that, and I'm working with Mr. Taylor on the inside. It's a little difficult to do that now because of the lockdown situation. They were under lockdown for 48 hours straight last week, and they are now, I think it's 23 hours. They're only allowed out for 15 minutes now. So it's a little difficult now because there aren't any video visitation, and a lot of the meetings and discussion was done that way.
Sure. We have one last question. Thank you for that. One last question from Joseph Jafari, and it is of Spotlight, Pennsylvania, and it is this. What are the stories that we in the media write that upset you or maybe don't portray this landscape accurately? And this is sort of an opportunity to give your parting words, both Ms. Sears and Mr. Brown, on the stories you think we should be covering or correcting or refining in some way. That would take like 30 seconds each. That would be wonderful.
Okay. Well, you know, a lot of crime is going on in society right now at a rapid pace. Even when stuff was written about the decision to allow juvenile lifers to come home after decades and decades behind bars, it was still a lot of negative stuff written. And that thinking that we wouldn't be able to succeed out here, that time has just escaped us, that we, you know, technology and all that would be so difficult. Well, I'm sorry, my stuff did happen with the thing, but I want more of the things that men and women who were formerly incarcerated that came out here and are making a difference in this society to be put out in the forefront, not to glorify anything, but just to let it know that people who made mistakes in the past are making a difference now. We were once the problem, but now we're trying to be a solution. And so just don't write us off out here or those men and women inside out, because they can make a difference out here as well.
Are there particular people or projects? I know you are doing your own mentoring and prison ministry work. Are there particular places, people, ideas that you want to cite that the journalists can write down now?
Well, like the main organization that I'm a part of is ICANN, Incarcerated Children Advocacy Network, and FAM, Families Against Mandatory Minimums. I mean, those are like two of my prize organizations that I'm a part of, because they cared about me and my well-being, even in the midst of me lending my voice or whatever I could to help with this advocacy work. They still check in to make sure that I'm whole. And so I think that those are two powerful organizations that are making a wonderful difference in this world. And in many of the men and women lives that still trying to get out.
May I ask you, you said I'm whole, making sure you are whole.
Yes.
3 years out of prison, how do you measure your wholeness? What is whole? What is still sort of fragmented and in parts? And if you want to go into details, whether that's your housing, your income, your whatever, and how typical are you perhaps of other people who are also formerly incarcerated out here?
Well, being inside those walls for all those years, I mean, in these small cells, I mean, for the last roughly 20 years of my incarceration, I was in a single cell by myself, so that still wasn't enough. I mean, because I can stretch my arms out and touch the walls. That's how small it was. I mean, it was just so confined. Everything in it, the bathroom, my eating area, my sleeping area, all in one. But then when I was released and were able to come home, I was blessed that I didn't have to go through the halfway house, and I was able to come straight home to my parents. So I shared the household with them. But that still wasn't enough because I was 53 years old, you know, coming out here and living with my parents. I wanted to experience, just like so many of the men and women who went in there as children, wanted to experience adulthood on the outside. So we wanted to learn how to pay rent and, you know, work hard outside and not just prison paying, which was pennies, and paying taxes and voting and all that there. Those things, you know, added to my wholeness. You know, I still have, you know, the lot that I'm working on, but I was able to come out here and was blessed to have a stable employment. You know, I've been with this company for December will make 3 years. I have my own apartment. I stay up on my bills. I just last month just purchased a car. You know, these are accomplishments that I dreamt about, and it's making me whole. Even when things go wrong, my worst day out here is better than my best day inside there. You know, so and with the support that I'm receiving from not just my family, but those organizations, even Miss Sears, when I first met her and became part of the mentoring with her and her organization, I mean, it was just been wonderful. And so, like, that just being able to give back is what's making me whole.
Thank you for that. Ms. Sears, you want to give us any parting tips or comments or perspectives as we sort of refine and tweak our work?
I concur with Mr. Brown when he talked about how the media can better reflect the true heart and soul of formerly incarcerated souls. I would suggest to the media that they should get to know these people. They should get to know returning citizens. They should also get to know incarcerated souls. In the 20 years that I have worked with incarcerated souls, and particularly the 6 years that I have worked with the Inside Out thought leaders at SCI Phoenix Lifers, Inc., they are the most brilliant, the most dynamic, the most enthusiastic and resilient souls I've ever had an opportunity and the honor to get to know and to work with. They are honest, they are focused, they are disciplined, their word is their bond. You may not understand this, but I will tell you this. Our greatest minds, our greatest creative talents are locked up behind the wall. These men and women have powerful solutions. The ones who have designed these solutions, they need to be out. We have a leadership vacuum in our communities. We have a solutions vacuum in our communities. The solutions, the leadership is in the prison. We need to bring these men and women home so that they can roll up their sleeves, save lives, stop the gun violence, stop the crime, do the mentoring. We need it now.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you a question. I will pass it on to the journalist. You had mentioned in our email that that these were sort of vetted evidence-based work that they were doing. Is there some research about this Inside Out, published research, vetted research about this project at SCI Phoenix that we could get hold of? Well,
we can handle this one of two ways. Why don't we do it this way? I can give you the link, the website link for SCI Phoenix Lifers.
Sure.
Okay.
Wonderful, and I'll pass it on to our fellow. Thank you so very, very much for coming and sharing. I'm sure there will be people following up. Okay, this was an on-the-record discussion. Thank you so kindly. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having us. And again, thank you for all the work that you do. I am truly grateful. Thank you.
I
I want to
too.
add my thanks to both Diane and Charles, and of course, Katti, for your patience, and also to the rest of our audience for standing by while we have our technical glitches. We're over the time a little bit. We're just extending. We're going to take a quick 5-minute break just to make sure that all of our technical connections are okay for our next panel, and then we'll be back in about 5 minutes. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.